Hi and welcome to Tabletop Gaming. My name is Charlie and today I'm continuing the list of the best 50 party games. Now the list began with part 1, we went through from 50 all the way down to 30. Today we're going to go down all the way down to number 11, which means our next part will be the top 10. So depending on when you watch this, make sure you check out the original video to see our beginnings of the list, and then make sure once it's there to check out the top 10, because I would love to hear which ones it is that you enjoy the most and which ones you would add to the list or perhaps move around. Now, I know that that's a thing because the way that we quantified this list was through our editor who formed the final sort of order in which it all came through. So I'm very much throwing him under the bus. If you want to comment and let me know that you disagree with anything, I may agree with you, because there are some where I'm like, I love that game though, I'd totally put that higher. So let me know what yours would be. I'm super excited because I love party games, I love chatting about them. Let me know about them in the comments. If there's any we've missed, ones that I can discover, I would love to hear it. So be sure to give me a shout on those. So without further ado, let's continue our list and let's head over to number 29. And delightfully, in at number 29 is one of my favourites. It's Escape the Cursed Temple. Now this is sort of, if you think the vibe of Indiana Jones, and there was an app, wasn't there, that where you sort of like run through a temple and you had to swipe and move and things. That smooshed into one epic dice rolling game. Okay, so you're in the temple, you're trying to discover the treasure, but you also need to make sure that you get out in time. Cool, that's fine. That's nice and easy. Apart from we'll make it a little bit more panicky, because what you're going to do is be rolling dice in order to do so. Everyone has their own dice. Everyone is rolling at the same time. So there's going to be mad things like your dice is going to roll off. Your dice is going to be cursed and cancelled, and you need an extra roll of a different style of dice to uncancel it, to be able to roll that further, to be able to get further through the temple, to be able to find that treasure. Hopefully, anyway. Now, if that wasn't panic-inducing enough, there is also a soundtrack, which, I'll be honest, pulls the vibe up massively. But within that soundtrack, the 10-minute soundtrack, at a certain point there's going to be a gong that sounds and you have to get back to your starting room. You must do so. And what I can tell you is there is nothing more terrifying than that race to get back, except that's a lie, because the next gong that goes off later in the game is your, oh my goodness, you need to get out of here fast. And suddenly everybody is racing, everybody's flinging dice everywhere trying to get to the exit. Is it panic-inducing? Yes. Is it immensely fun? Yes. And something I love about this is, first of all, that it's just a 10-minute game. It is timed to 10 minutes. You cannot take longer than that period of time to play this game. So once you just want something quick and easy to set up, that's a great one to sort of get everyone hyped and get everyone going. It's really fun to play and a really good one to, like I say, get everyone hyped up a little bit if you're sort of easing back into games. Number 28 is Articulate. This is probably one of the easier ones to find. You might find it in places like Tesco's, for example, because it's relatively mainstream and it's a lovely and simple concept. Players are given a word and they're trying to communicate what that word is to the other player, but without using that word in a sentence. So it might be that you have a word placed down and you say horse, and they say, I don't know, Pegasus. And you go, no, big horse. Okay, I can't think of what that would be. Epic horse. Stallion. It's stallion. It's just a simple game of being able to say, I think this is this, on the one hand, and then on the other hand going, I can't think of any more descriptions for this, and I'm just going to panic and say something. And it's that panic that brings out usually something quite funny and something quite enjoyable. But it makes it very family friendly because anyone can play, anyone can try and describe something, and anyone can try and pick up what those descriptions mean too. Plus, as I say, nice and easy to pick up. In at number 27 is Mr. Lister's Quiz Shootout. This is a big potato game, which you know means it's going to be a fun party game because that's basically what they are. Fun party games. But this is a trivia game with a difference. So, I often struggle with trivia games because I have very poor general knowledge. I know board games, not a lot else. With that, I'm rubbish at trivia games. So this instead puts you into teams, already we're doing great, and also asks you to list things instead. So, name all of Snow White's 7 dwarfs. List ways to cook an egg. All these sorts of things are really straightforward for everyone to get this and this and this and oh, add this. And obviously you're going to try and do better than the other team. If you draw, you get a question that is numerical and it's the closest to that number that wins. It's all very tidy, it's all very well thought out, and it's all a little bit bonkers when you're desperately trying to think of something that you feel like is obscure but you should know. In at number 26 is Unlock. Now, agreeably, it is sometimes argued as to whether these are party games or not. However, it's something you can have fun with a group of people, and whilst you may only be able to play once, which is probably its biggest downside, there are 3 cases within each. So, if you're not familiar with Unlock, it is essentially like this escape room style in a box. There are things that you're going to have to get through within a time period, and using your own sort of knowledge and looking at things in a really different way and thinking differently about stuff that gets you through the game itself. So, you can play multiple versions of this. You might have more escape room things, you might be trying to find a millionaire. There's even a Star Wars version that I particularly enjoyed and is the one that I've played. These are good fun for all involved because everybody thinks that a little bit differently, and that's really helpful in these games. And you sort of start building a camaraderie of, oh great, you did this good and you did this great and that answer was really good there, and it's a really nice sort of boosting game. Hopefully you do so in time. I didn't. Number 25 is the Resistance Avalon. Now this builds on what the Resistance had and puts it in Arthurian legend, which in itself, pretty cool. Then we add in the fact that players now have roles. They have specific versions and ways and things, motivations that they'll need to play out during the game itself. The Arthurian Knights, of course, are on their noble crest, whereas Mordred's villains are looking to sabotage. It's also one of those where you don't want to be discovered in the role that you are. What if Mordred's villains work out who Merlin is? That's never going to be good. This sort of level of social deduction and trying to work out what your friends are doing and potentially accusing them is that level of fun that I particularly enjoy in this style of game. Then at 24 we have Blockbuster the game, which is another big potato entry. We have a version of this in our game store, by the way, so you should totally check it out if you like the sound of it. This is a game where you are given a film and a way to present that. So you have 3 types of hints. You might have charades, you might have a one-word answer, or you might have a quote from the film. Now, of course, that quote may not be one that's particularly accurate, but it may be helpful anyway. Each turn, one film must be guessed from a mime act, from a single word, and then from a quote that probably could be from the film. As close as you can get anyway. But you've only got 30 seconds to make those guesses and try and gain all 3 films, so you're gonna have to be fast and your mimes are gonna have to be accurate. And whilst you'd think from the name that you'd need to know your films, to be honest, you just need to be able to make fun of the title that's there. Not least that, but obviously there's some that you're gonna know anyway. Snakes on a plane. I wonder what happened there. At number 23, we have number 9, and that's oddly confusing to say. Number 9 is essentially 4-player only, although you can bundle together other copies to make it a multiplayer, which Mark Cooke, who was our contributor for this, has done so with a vast number of people. Each turn a number is revealed and players must take the matching tile of that number. You'll place that in your play area and then level it up, physically up, for additional scores. But there are rules for where that can be placed, and of course that makes it slightly more tricky every time. Plus, another benefit to this game is everyone plays simultaneously, so no one's gonna get bored. At number 22 is Just One. This is a super popular one, and one that's translated pretty well actually to things like Zoom, so it's been great for over lockdown, which hopefully by the time you watch this we're coming out of, but if not, either way, this is a great party game. What's going to happen is people are going to be given a word. They must then have that word guessed by the one person who doesn't know it. Now, they'll write down just one word on their piece of card that will hint towards what that is. The problem is that if you have duplicates, so if you say the same thing as somebody else has said on your card hint, they get taken out. So you have to worry about trying to be too obvious, because if you're too obvious in a way that means they'll get it, will someone else write that down and will that be taken out completely, and then you lose 2 options for hints? If you go too obscure, has somebody else tried to do the same thing because they're trying not to be obvious? And it's a lot of sort of like lateral thinking in terms of which did you do that? Did I do that? How well do I know what you're probably going to write down and what they're going to think? And it gets more and more ridiculous. So suddenly those hints aren't as clear as you thought they would be to start with. It sort of forces you into creative thinking, and it's quite a satisfying one when your clue stands the test and manages to offer the hint that is needed to get the right answer. In at 21 is Rhino Hero. Now, instead of being flat on the table as many of these are, this one makes use of space as we go up and up. This is a building game in terms of you're building a tower from the cards that you receive. However, each floor that's laid may have a sort of Uno style restriction on it, so it might make the next player miss a turn, for example. Once you've got a couple of floors though, of course, it's a little bit wobbly, and when you move that Rhino meeple, you're going to have to be more and more careful that you don't offer ultimate destruction of your carefully built tower. There's sort of a love of it from Jenga in the fact that you're always waiting for it to fall, and that's exactly what's happening in Rhino Hero. But that means that it's quite a fun game and one that is great to play with younger kids as well, because Who doesn't just go, hey, when it falls over? In at number 20 is Masterword. This is a Scorpion math game that I absolutely love. It reminds me of a game called Mastermind from quite a while ago that my cousins had, and I remember going around to play it all the time, where you try and guess a sequence, but you wouldn't see what that sequence is. You'd put pegs in the hope that it was correct, and you'd be told only how many you got correct, not what was correct or which order was correct. Enter Masterword, in which one player knows what the word is, the other players don't. And then we're going to be playing sort of almost 20 questions at the same time as to what's correct. So, we know that theme is character, but we don't know who that character is. That's the word we're trying to guess. So, on our little white cards, we're going to write down things to try and narrow it down a little bit. So, okay, we know it's a character. Is it a male character? Is it one that is on TV? Or is it one that is real? So are they real or are they fiction? So we're going to write down those 3 guesses. Then the person who knows is going to say, you got 2 of those right. And then we're going to go, but which 2? So, your next guess, are you going to try and narrow that down further? Are you going to try and keep in mind that it could be this, but it could be that? But as you're going, you're trying to work out what the likelihood of, if that one was right on that row, but we don't know for certain, this one might be right on this row, and you go further and further through trying to guess what it is that word is. I love this because it gets everybody talking. Not only are you talking about what it could be and trying to do that puzzle of which one's going to be right, but you're also going to be trying to work out what the person will have said. So, okay, they said no to it being a book character, but is that because it's not in any books at all? Or is that because they're not known for being a book character? Or that wasn't where they rose to fame? Which one could it be? What would they have thought? And this coming together and chatting and going, I think this, or could it be this, or could it be that? We never play it timed. In my personal experience, we just chat until we've made a decision as to what it is. And it can end up quite amusing with how far we're going to try and justify the answer that we've given. And ultimately, hope we get the right answer in the end. It's really good fun. Then at number 19 is another favourite of mine. This is the game that I rated a must play when I reviewed it. I think it is phenomenal. This is a game of cat and mouse. Once again by Exploding Kittens, but what you're getting is a dexterity game that comes in like a little case and you fold it out. That is your battleground. In the centre, there will be a plastic cat head in which you're going to use flickers, little magnetic paws, to throw balls through the mouth of the cat to try and knock out all of the teeth, or through the nose to try and knock out the nose for an instant win. Now, when you sit down and play this with people, there are 2 types of people. You either get the screaming, shouting type, they're like, oh my god, I can't believe you've done this! Or the type that go absolutely silent and focus specifically on what they're doing. Now, it is a tournament style. You're going to have to play it as tournament style because it's technically 2-player, 1 person versus the other. Exploding Kittens have got a really great thing on their website where you can put in all the names and it will create you your feeds to go through who won this. Okay, right, you need to go against this person and this person. Also, they have a playlist. That's well worth checking out because that's quite a fun sort of hype up when you're playing the game itself. But ultimately, it is hilariously fun. There is almost no barrier to entry because all you have to do is pull back a plastic paw and let go. Once you've done that, you'll realise that there is a mixture of luck and skill involved. Yes, some people are slightly better than others, but ultimately, half the time it's sheer luck as to whether you've made that amazing shot or not. So a game that pretty much everyone can enjoy, and everyone can get behind trying to bet on who's going to win, because that's half the fun. Half the fun is spectating and trying to work out who it is, but which side are you going to go on? Are you just going to mention, oh, by the way, you've only got to get 1 more white ball through to their side and you've won? Oh, amazing! They could then win that based on that advice. It's really fun to watch, it's really fun to play, and it was one that I would absolutely recommend as a party game, and I almost can't believe that it is where it is in the list, because I would totally put it much higher. Then number 18 is Telestrations. Now, I have never played this game, but I have played Scrawl, which I think, from the sound of things, is incredibly similar. You're going to be given something that you have to draw. You're then going to pass that once you've drawn it onto the next player, who is going to write down what they think it is. That's then going to be passed on to the next player, who's going to draw what the player thought it was. Then again, what they think it is, then again, draw from that, without seeing the ones that came before it. Once you get to the end, you're then trying to work out which is the best of those, and which one is closest or funniest, or however it is that you want to judge it. The best thing about this is it's not about how well you draw, because the worse you draw, the more funny it is. I can't draw for anything. Everything I do is, if it's not a stickman, then we've gone past my abilities. With that though, if I then draw a stickman doing something particular but that gets misinterpreted, then it's Chinese whispers all the way until it's utterly ruined by the end, which makes for hilarious results. How does this explanation of what you're going to have to draw turn into this final drawing? Who knows? Who knows? And that's what often makes it utterly hilarious. So it is well worth a play and a really fun party game as well, because although whilst you'll go quiet whilst you're drawing, the end reveal is often hilarious. I don't think I've played a game where we haven't laughed so much. At number 17 is Monikers. Now, split your group into teams. Have one person describe something that's based on a card, and have the others try to guess it. Fail to guess it, pass it round, try again, and within no time at all, everyone has guessed all the cards, and you're away. Great, nice and easy, that's all. No, that is not all. What you'll then do is play the same game with the same words, with the same cards, but now you can only use one word hints. This makes it so much more difficult but so much more fun, because not only are you going to be trying to think of a word that describes a phrase or what's on the card, but you're also going to be probably end up referencing words that were used in the first one. So you're creating a game of in-jokes whilst also trying to guess what on earth people are talking about, which is half the fun. But it doesn't even stop there, because then round 3 is the same cards but with charades. So you're going from full-on descriptions to one-word phrases all the way down to charades. So it feels like there's a little bit of something for everyone, because if you aren't very good with the one-word hints, you might be great at the charades. If you don't like the charades, you might be great at the descriptions. It's all in there for everyone. Number 16 is herd mentality. Yes, Big Potato are back again. What a surprise. I love this game. This is a game about not standing out. You have to be exactly the same as the others. So a question will be asked. So it might be, what is the best sauce? And you're having a look through and you're thinking, well, I definitely prefer this one to this one, or I'm more of a this person than a this person. That's not what this is about. You're going to have to try and think what everybody else is thinking. What are they all going to write down? Now, in this case, it might be that you just go for something popular, like, okay, ketchup. That's nice and easy. Or it might be that you look at someone and go, well, I know that they do a lot of barbecuing, and loads of the stuff I've seen on Instagram is their barbecue sauce. So are they going to write barbecue? Because in which case I should write barbecue, because they might also think that, and we might. All you're doing is second guessing everybody. Now, if you manage to be the same as everybody else, if you are part of the herd, you get a cow, you get 8 cows to win. If you are the standout, you get a pink squishy cow, which is adorable, and part of me wants that anyway, but it stops you from winning the game. So take it but don't keep it, and move it on as necessary. It's a really fun entry in such a way that it takes everybody trying to do something different. So like Just One, for example, everyone had to do something different. Herd mentality is like, no, here we're trying to work out how we keep everybody giving the same answers. So can you read what someone else is going to put just by looking at them and thinking, what would you say in this scenario? But remember, they might be doing the same to you. It's such a muddle, and it brings up some really interesting answers as well, in terms of, is that what you really think? Or are you just trying to think what I would think? Why would you think that I would think that? So many questions, and such a way to get inside people's brains without even really realising you're doing it, and in a box that has cow print on it, but the cow print is actually textured. Ah, beautiful. At number 15 is 2 rooms and a boom, and what you're going to have to be doing is you're going to have to be smuggling your people backwards and forwards. You have 2 teams, and you're going to be trying to move hostages around in such a way that certain roles are put in together. Obviously, trying to work out who the bad person is, who do you not want, who shouldn't be there, just by things that they do and what you're deducing from their action. Ultimately, the bomber needs to be moved in with the president in the exchanges of hostages that are occurring, and that is your win condition. However, there are multiple roles that you can play outside of those as well. And number 14 is Love Letter. Now, there are so many variations of this game that you can pick one up in the sort of flavour that you like. It might be that you go for a Cthulhu one. It might be that you go for a Marvel one. It might be that you go for the base one, which is exactly what we've done at this point. This is described as a little card game where you're looking to get a letter to the princess first. But you're going to be sneaky about who you are, what abilities you have, and trying to maximise those in order to be the first person to do so. All that combined with trying to guess what the other people are doing, what cards they've played, what cards you've seen already, which means what cards might they still have. There's a lot to think about in such a tiny little game. Plus, it comes in a really cute little drawstring bag, so it makes it really fun. Number 13 is Weird Things Humans Search For. Now, this is precisely what it says on the tin. When you type into Google something and it comes up with something hilarious in the pre-fill where it tries to guess what it is that you're doing next, that's exactly what this game is. Humans are searching for this starter, what is it that they've said afterwards, and you're going to try and guess that. It's utterly simple, but one that has sort of a wider appeal because you can look at it and almost immediately know what it is that you're going to have to do, which means you can play it with people who might not necessarily be familiar with board games or might not be willing to dive into something without an idea of what's happening beforehand. This, you can say, it's just weird things people search for on Google and you're like, ah, yeah, I know what that is. And number 12 is Sushi Go Party. Now, it is really difficult not to fall in love with how cute the little animations are, little drawings, illustrations. They are adorable, but they come with some difficulties in the sense of how are you going to play with them. It is a drafting game that's going to give you choices on which decks you're going through and what you're going to do with them, but be aware, there are different types of cards that offer you different abilities. So Tempora are only worth points if you have 2 of them drafted already. There's all sorts of little intricacies that you're going to need to keep an eye on, but they're beautifully simple for first-time players to the game. So you can pick it up incredibly quickly and then play through and then immediately want to play again because you want to do a whole new strategy. Those are the kind of games that make it great fun, plus it's super cute, which helps. In at number 11 is a game that I can't believe didn't make the top 10 because it is one of my personal favourites. It is Coup. This is one that I play almost every time I see a certain gaming group because we just adore it and we're wonderful at it. I say that, I'm really good at it, so I totally push for us to play it again. Anyway, what it is that you're going to be doing is everybody is given 2 cards that have roles on it. You might be an ambassador, you might be a duke, you might be an assassin. Those cards that you have in front of you represent what you can do. So, within those, as an assassin, it's cheaper for me to assassinate another player, for example. As a contester, I can block an assassination. Holding those is quite helpful, but nobody else knows what I'm holding. So what I might do is use an ability of a different card and say, yeah, sure, I'm the Duke. I can totally take a different amount of coins from the centre because of it. And they might look at me and go, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's the card that you're holding based on the actions you've done previously. They can then call me out on it. They call me out on it, I lose a card, I then have to struggle through. That gets even tighter when you have things like assassinations though, because they might say, I have a card that blocks it. And then you're going, does the person who assassinated even have an assassin card? Does the person who's blocking it have a block card? If I call out either one of them and I'm wrong, I'm in trouble, but I don't believe they have it because earlier they were playing as if they had a duke. What's going on? And all this sort of intricacy of trying to work out and trying to remember what people have played, trying to work out what they might play next, trying to work out where they're bluffing. It's great when you can look at some characters and be like, you're 100% lying there, I can tell. That always amuses me. But it's a really great game to try and work out what other people are doing and to build your own strategy. Are you going to stick religiously to what's on your card? Because then if anyone calls your bluff, they are completely wrong the entire time. Or are you going to risk it every now and again and try for some consistency in doing something else? Who knows? It is so quick to pick up, it is so fun to play, and it is one of my personal favourites, so I'm really glad it's on the list. So that marks the end of part 2. Our part 3 will give you our top 10. Now, make sure you watch our previous video for the ones that came before, and make sure once that top 10 video is up, which will be shortly, you have a look through and see which ones you agree with. Are you with me? Would you put Coup higher? Would you put Coup lower? What would you do with the ones that we've mentioned? Are there any favourites of yours? Are there any funny stories you can tell me? I love to talk about games. Party games are one of my favourite genres, so please do comment, let me know. Let's have a conversation in the comments so that I get to talk about games for longer. Thanks, guys. While you're at it, if you could hit like and subscribe, that would be great. Hit subscribe to see when that new one comes out. And if you want to see more from us, or you want to pick up the magazine that this was in, head to tabletopgaming.co.uk for all of your gaming needs. Once again, I've been Charlie with Tabletop Gaming. Thank you so much for watching. Join us for the next part and have a great day. Thanks, guys.